Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into another historic weather video here at GavsWeatherVids on this early May bank holiday Monday. So hello, good day to you. I hope you're all having a lovely bank holiday Monday. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, as it is bank holiday Monday, it's time to bring you another historic weather video. This time we're looking at the run of hot summers through the early to middle 1930s. We can go away to 1935, but potentially just going to see, you know, how long it goes on for. We could go from starting at 1932. Let's say we could go to 1935. So we're going to have to see how we go on for time. But I've got like the 4 years loaded up anyway, and we'll see how we do. Right, okay. So as I say, thank you so much for being here. If you're enjoying the content on my channel at the moment, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, dear man. Thank you so much to the two resources of information that make these historic weather videos that we do here at GavsWeatherVids every bank holiday work, and that is the historic archive of charts that you see there from our Wata for Central.ding, and also a lot of the information right here in video. In fact, for this one, as I wasn't well and truly wasn't alive in the early to middle 1930s, all of the information right here in this video comes from Trevor Harley. I have my notes printed off just there. So thank you so much to Trevor Harley and also to Veta for, you know, the charts and also the information. And it really is, you know, the information from Trevor Harley combined with the charts that makes these videos what they are, makes them work. So they couldn't work without the charts and also the info. On the squad is cog in the wheel, really. I'm just a narrator. So thank you so much to Trevor Harley and also to Veta. The links to both of those websites are in the description with this video. So with so much to get through, I think we better crack on, don't you? So we're going to begin our early May bank holiday historic video for 2023. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Right, let's do this then. We're going to begin on the 1st of May. 1932, which is actually a Sunday. Though we can see we've got a blocking area of high pressure here across Greenland and Iceland, and we've got low pressure across southern and also western parts of Europe. So this May had a central temperature of 10.5. It was a very wet and dull month with severe flooding in the Midlands and the North. Goodness gracious me. We are, you know, talking about hot summers with this, but of course not every month is going to be hot. And certainly at this point, there's no sign of any particularly hot weather. So we can see that as we go through the opening days of May 1932, low pressure gets shunted off to the east. And we pull in these very chilly looking northeasterly winds. Trevor Harley saying the first 10 days were cold and frosty. It then becomes warm and thundering. Nottinghamshire and Don Valley are particularly badly affected by the flooding. It was the wettest May for 160 years. Goodness gracious me. That's a long time back, isn't it? It's in 1932, remember? So that would get back into the 1700s, I think, wouldn't it? 160 years. Gracious. Okay, let's see what happens then. So the first 10 days cold, pulling in these very chilling north or northeasterly winds. Let's have a look at the upper air temperatures. Wow. Minus 5 Celsius iceberg plunging down. No doubt snow showers in the north and northeast. That looks really quite wintry, doesn't it? That's the 5th of May. Big block around Greenland and ice. We will get to charts in a bit, don't worry. We will get to them in a bit. But blocking high pressure around Greenland and ice and low pressure to our east. And in come those very, very chilling northeasterly winds, so minus 5 Celsius ice front sweeping through the country there. And we go on to the 6th and into 7th of May, and again we've got this low pressure sat over the country again with the upper air temperature not quite as cold because of beginning to just retreat away a little bit to the north and to the northeast, but still looking, you know, cold and probably night frost and whatnot with that. So a very chilly start to May 1932. Now it has a central temperature of 10.5, which isn't too bad. So obviously there is going to be some warmer weather. It looks like this is the start of it. There's a warm front coming through here and about to introduce minor southwesterly winds. So still unsettled, low pressure dominating, but this time pulling up like a southwesterly. So obviously that is a much warmer wind direction. Have a look at the upper air temperature, you can see they have well and truly recovered at this point. So still unsettled though, that's the main thing. That's why it is the wettest May for 160 years. Low pressure never far away, always pushing through from off the Atlantic just within a warmer air mass. We're back into those northerlies again at the end of May. Oh dear, dear, dear. So, very delayed, getting going with proper warm and dry weather. So that's how we look at the end of the month. Low pressure still in control and still really that blocking area of high pressure to the north. That takes us through to June, then the first day of meteorological summer, 1932. A dry month, but with some heavy rain at the end. Cold northeast winds at the start gave a maximum of only 10 degrees over East England on the 4th and the 5th. Wow, wow, wow. We're still not done with those northerlies then. So here we go through the opening days of June 1932. Yeah, you can see, can't you? High pressure out to the west, the winds are in from the east and from the northeast again. But the upper air temperatures are really quite cool for June. Probably not overly wet. There could be showers in the east, but it is a chilly northeasterly that we have there. High pressure slipping southwards though, going back into a warmer position again to second week of June. Still a bit unsettled though, low pressure coming through. Now this looks better, doesn't it? This is getting into the middle part of the month, and high pressure is well and truly establishing now. So this is a much warmer type scenario. Trevor Hardy writes, after a warm, sunny spell mid-month, cold northeasterly set in again around the 20th. So the upper air temperatures, they look a lot better there, don't they? A lot more respectable for June. Probably low to mid-20s Celsius. Could be a bit on the cool side in the east. But notice the high pressure gets slipping away to the northwest. So back in comes those cooler north or northeasters again. Notice the upper air temperatures are starting to lower once more. And as we get towards month end, we bring low pressure in from the Atlantic, so we're back into quite unsettled conditions again. Where's the warmth, you're asking? Gav. Where's the warmth? On the last day of June, we'll get to that, I promise. On the last day of June 1932, we're back into those unsettled low pressure dominated conditions. Upper air temperatures are warm. We are bringing up quite warm air from the south, but no doubt low pressure pushing through. Because that takes us through to July, which Trevor Hardy says is an unsettled month. And has a settling temperature of 16.1, which is relatively mild. It's quite a warm-ish July, but not anything to get excited about. So obviously going to be August that the warmth is for this summer. We'll have a look at that in a second. But we start off with July 1932 on a very wet and windy note. Low pressure rolling in off the Atlantic. High pressure is building to our east. That is dragging up some warmth from the south. You can see the upper air temperature is looking quite warm. Notice very hot air is established over Spain. Though, quite hot down in Iberia. More about that a little bit later on. But for now, low pressure keeps itself in control of the weather. So this is the 7th to the 8th of July. A nice ridge beginning to build up from the southwest, bringing drier weather to England and Wales. Still quite unsettled though up to the north. Becoming much warmer here with these upper air temperatures. The 10 cells iceberg well and truly established now. So the summer really gets going in July. That area of high pressure. Quite hot there, I think, on the 10th to the 11th. But this generates a thundery low. Over France, upper air temperatures look very warm, but this low brings some very wet weather. So, Cranwell, which is in Lincolnshire, we have 131 millimetres in this one day, the 11th of July 1932. No doubt, thunderstorms being triggered by that thundery low pushing up from the south. And then we do it all over again, actually, with another thundery trough sitting over the country on the 13th, when Cranwell again has 61 millimetres of rain. So by this point, we're clocking up to like 200 millimetres within, a couple of days at Cranwell. So no doubt there would have been some flooding with that. Now, beyond that, the high pressure pulls out west. We start to pull down these cool northeasterlies yet again. So the upper air temperatures, again, they're looking quite cool. Very hot upper air temperatures through southern Europe and into the east at this point. So no sign of much in the way of hot weather after what's been a very mixed summer, but it is coming, I promise you. Low pressure sat right on top of the country there in the final week of July 1932. So it looks like July 32 would have been a very unsettled month as well, following on from that very wet May. So I wonder how bad the flooding was back then in the summer of 1932. That's the last day of July. Right, we're into August. We're getting into summer now, so we're getting somewhere. August 1932 has a central temperature of 17.1. For that era, that's really very warm. Now, we probably wouldn't get that excited about it, but for back then, that is, it is quite a warm month. And Trevor Hardy writes, a warm month, 17.1 overall, but warmest since 1911. Warmest August since 1911. The first 10 days were dominated by unsettled westerlies, but it was nevertheless still warm and bright in the south. So let's have a look at that then, what happens. So we've got the Azores High now making its move. Look at this, this is the 5th of August, the Azores High. Always, or very often, the bringer of our hottest spells, beginning to ridge up from the southwest. We've got the upper air temperature, the heat is there across southern Europe and down into northern parts of Africa as well. So this is where the dry weather comes in the south, generally dry and warm. Further northwards, more unsettled. And that takes into the second week of month. I would imagine temperatures with this probably into the upper 20s Celsius, might be knocking on the door of 30 maybe across some southern parts of the country. That's the 11th, so the high pressure begins to drift eastwards then, and we start to bring in what looks like a thundery trough from the west. The rare temperatures look hot though for the south and for the southeast, with 15 Celsius iceberg pushing northwards. So Hardy writes, the incursion of warm air then caused temperatures of 31 degrees, 88 Fahrenheit, across the southeast on the 11th. Then an area of low pressure over Germany sent a thundery low to the southwest of England on the 19th, bringing up very hot air from the south into southern Britain. So let's have a look at that, shall we? Thundery trough initially pushing through there, 11th to the 12th of August. And then 15th, here comes this ridge. Again, it's starting from the Azores High, it's ridging up towards Scandinavia as well. So look at the upper air temperatures. Again, they're looking very warm across most parts of Europe, hot across many parts of the continent. We're within warm to very warm air. Again, we see that on the 17th, got 15 Celsius iceberg in south, 20 Celsius iceberg is across France. That's always, an indication, something to look out for. That's the 18th. Look at how close the 20 Celsius iceberg is to southern, southwestern parts of England there. Well. And by the 19th, we've got a thundery low being triggered in the Bay of Biscay, with that very hot air to our south. Yes, we have got the plus 20 Celsius iceberg there into the south and southeast. It might be 1932, but there it is. Plus 20 Celsius iceberg is into the south. So Trevor Harley writes, it was very hot, 36.1 Celsius or 97 Fahrenheit on the 19th this day at Camden Square, Tottenham. Hailstead in Essex and several places around London, 96 Fahrenheit over a wide area of East Anglia. This was one of the three hottest days of the 20th century, and all the more notable for being in the second half of the month, second half of August. It was the latest day to reach such a high temperature. In contrast, it was 22 degrees Harrogate and Chester. You can see those cooler upper air temperatures just that little bit further north. It was extremely humid with widespread thunderstorms later in the day. How exciting. The minimum overnight was of the 19th to the 20th of August was 22.7 degrees at Lampley in Kent, a record for many years. Temperatures still reached 30 degrees in London on the 20th, but it was cooler further north, 22 degrees in Birmingham on the 19th and 19 Celsius on the 20th. Thunderstorms on the 20th and 21st with flooding in the Midlands. The month ended sunny but cooler. So this is like the peak of the summer, very hot air from the south. And then, of course, it goes bang, it goes thundering as this trough of low pressure pushes through. So what we would classify now, as like a classic heat spike, I guess, really, with that plus 20 Celsius iceberg just pushing up for a day or two. And then, within a couple of days, it's gone and swept away by a thundery area of low pressure. And high pressure is in as we go into the final week of August. We turn cooler under that area of high pressure, obviously. But probably still mostly dry until this low starts edging in right way to month's end. And then on into September, we have a very unsettled, wet, windy start to the month. In September, 1932 is a very different month. Only has a central temperature of 12.9, and Trevor Hardy says this was a mixed month but was generally dull. An unsettled start, particularly in the western north, but very warm in the southeast. On the second, let's go back to that then. So you can see it's still a bit of residual warmth still there into the south and southeast, but overall it is going into a more autumnal and cooler type pattern here as we go through September of 1932. Because also it makes another move around the middle part of the month. How high are the upper air temperatures now? So they're pretty warm, aren't they? For a 12.9 CT, you know, there's quite a bit of warmth around. Maybe it's, so we get to the final sort of 10 days month, a much cooler, colder air coming in from the north. Look at the upper air temperatures now, so that explains it, you know, although there is some warmth in the earlier part of the month. It is a very much a wet, cold sort of final week, 10 days or so of September 1932. Right, that's the first summer done. Now, do you think that's a little bit of a teaser summer? Maybe, might be. So let's have a look at 1933 next, shall we? 1933. We're going to start, I'm so sorry, buddy. We're going to start off in May. Warm but cloudy, CT 12.2. That's a pretty warm May. Let's see what happens with this one. May 1933. So we've got low pressure out to our west to start off with. Where's that low pressure going? So it looks a bit unsettled, I have to say, through the first through the first sort of week, 10 days of the month. We have got a nice reach down to our southwest, but all looking a bit flimsy. Mid-May 1923 starts to build up some higher pressure over to the east coast. So this is where it's starting to turn warmer. The upper air temperatures, not excessively warm though, but down to our south there is a little bit of warm waiting. So this month, like, got high pressure east, low pressure out to the west. So winds off them from a southerly southwesterly direction. And that explains why it's relatively warm with the CT. But quite mixed, quite unsettled, low pressure always there or thereabouts. So I imagine there are plenty of showers, if not longer spells of rain coming through with these southerly southwest winds. Now that gets us to June 1933. This month has a central temperature of 15.6. That's very warm for June in any year, actually. Even for now, 15.6 would be a pretty high June CT. Trevor Hardy writes, a warm month overall, the hottest and sunniest Whitsun bank holiday. Which of course now is in May, but back then was in June. The temperature is over 27 degrees over much of central and eastern England on the 3rd. Wow, let's have a look at that then. So we've got, this is obviously Whitsun bank holiday. We've got high pressure to our east, low pressure out to west again. We're bringing up those sunbeams. Oh yeah, the upper air temperatures are quite warm there. Aren't they? On 24th, it was 29. It was 29.4 degrees over much of the country in London and Real, Lancaster, Edinburgh, Elgin, and less widespread but hotter still on the 5th with 31 degrees, nearly 90 Fahrenheit at Camden Square. For much of the country, it was cloudless from the 1st to the 8th. Goodness gracious me. So clear blue skies, hot sunshine, southerly winds, you know, a little bit of nature showing its intent here, I suppose. Look at the upper air temperatures. That's the 5th of June, 1933, looking really quite hot. This is a genuinely hot summer, I have to say, that we have in 1933, but it does not have an 18 Celsius CT month, but nevertheless, it's a long, extended summer as well with this one. So this area of high pressure brings clear blue skies, cloudless skies, and high temperatures. We do find that the wind pulls into the northeast a little bit there by the night, so obviously cooler air is starting to come into that area of high pressure, and maybe a bit showery, that area of low pressure over the low countries as well. Trevor Hardy writes, then the second half of the month, low pressure gave cool showery weather with thunder, some low some notable thunderstorms on the 19th. Lightning deaths around London and hail 4 inches deep in Kent. Goodness gracious me, let's get to that then. So high pressure weakens as we go into the middle of the month. Low pressure comes in from off the Atlantic. That brings much more unsettled weather. Oh yeah, real flip around here through the middle part of June 1933 under this low pressure. That's below, but bringing the thunderstorms on the 19th. Thunderstorms don't always have to be brought by heat, remember. They can just sometimes be brought by really unstable, low pressure dominated weather. So that is below that was responsible for those lightning deaths and 4 inches of hail in Kent. What happens after that? Well, the low pressure keeps knocking around the country into the closing day. So a real month of two halves, this. Mostly very warm, dry, hot through the first half of the month, and then much more unsettled and cooler into the second half of the month. It must have been a very high CT for the first week to 10 days to, come out 15.6, because it looks like from the middle of the month onwards, the wind is often from the north-northwest as relatively cool and unsettled. That's the last day of June 1933, a nice little extension from the Azores high. Now, let's go through the July then. So this is a very warm summer month. This is a bit of a classic. July 1933 has a central temperature of 17.8, very warm, sunny and dry. It turned very hot at the end of the month with 34 degrees recording on the 27th. More about that in a moment, but you can see that we have a nice ridge from the Azores high here as we begin this classic summer month with very warm upper air temperatures. So here we go then for the first week of July 1933. Oh wow, this is absolutely classic, isn't it? Azores high forms into a large area of high pressure part slap bang on top of the country. Upper air temperatures aren't that extreme, but that's the kind of thing that's going to give day after day after day of dry, hot sunshine with temperatures, into the low, possibly even mid-30s Celsius, even without the impressive upper air temperatures, certainly below 30 Celsius. Can be achieved in the middle of summer with that kind of strong and stable area of high pressure. That's the 6th of July, so the high pressure is moving up towards Scandinavia then, thundery low developing out in the Atlantic. The upper air temperatures look very warm or hot across the entire country. What happens after that? Well, low pressure comes in, or tries to, from off the Atlantic, tries to bring a thundery breakdown, but the high pressure is actually standing its ground. So I imagine most of the wet weather with that is confined to the north and the west. So the ridge probably keeps the south and east mostly dry, quite warm. Upper air temperatures are lower, but they are still pretty warm. So we're into low pressure here and going to the second week of July 1933. That does look genuinely much more unsettled across much of the country, although Trevor Hardy does say that not only is it very warm and sunny, but it is also dry. So I have to question just how much precipitation that those lows are giving through the second week of the month. Now we're going into the third week of the month. The Azores high beginning to push back up from the south again. That's the 18th to the 19th of July. Got a ridge in the south, a little bit more showery perhaps up in the north. We're moving further on, and again you see high pressure becoming increasingly influential, not only from the Azores, but also across northern parts of Europe as well. There's the upper air temperatures on the 24th. Again, they're looking nice and warm across most parts of the country. So we're getting towards those high temperatures at the end of the month. You see the upper air temperatures going up to plus 15 Celsius iceberg in the south. Again, plus 20 Celsius iceberg is into the Bay of Biscay. Thundery low then developing on the 27th. This is the day when we get 34 degrees, well into the 90s Fahrenheit. Again, you can see plus 15 Celsius iceberg there in the south and southeast. We don't quite pull up the plus 20 Celsius iceberg with this particular heat wave, but it certainly looks very warm and thundery, and then turns a little bit cooler and more unsettled again with another low pushing through as we get to month's end. That takes us on into August, which is another 17 Celsius CT month. So we've had a 12 Celsius CT May, we've had a 15 Celsius CT June, we've had a 17 Celsius CT July, and now we have another 17 Celsius CT month. This is August, hot, dry and sunny. Perhaps these two consecutive August, remember the last one, 1932, was also hot, dry and sunny. Perhaps these these two consecutive warm Augusts are part of the basis of the myth of the long hot summers of the past. 35 degrees is going to be achieved on the 6th. You see, we begin August 1933 still with this ridge from the Azores High. It's a very Azores High dominated summer, sending up these ridges into the Western Europe. Again, the upper air temperatures not excessively hot, but certainly warm enough to have the temperature into the low 30s, especially after so much dry, hot weather. That high pressure then easing its way eastwards on the 5th. Up comes this hot air from south plus 15 Celsius iceberg is back in across southern parts of the country. This is the day, as I say, but we reach 35 degrees down in the south and in the southeast as well. That's 95 Fahrenheit. That's achieved from a plus 15 Celsius iceberg. So see how things exacerbate themselves. You know, how in these hot summers, the scenario, because the ground gets hot and baked, the scenario just feeds back on itself. So if we have been able to pull up the plus 20 Celsius isotherm through this first week of August 1933, I suspect the temperature might have hit 40 degrees, who knows. But, you know, 95 Fahrenheit, 35 degrees is achieved just with the plus 15 Celsius isotherm. Now, we're going a little bit cooler for the north anyway, and more showery as we go into the second week of August 1933, but still that high pressure from the Azores is in the ascendancy. Still, it's in control. The upper air temperatures are cooler, but again, notice how hot the upper air temperatures are just to our south. The heat is there over France. So we're going to bring that in again. Let's have a look. We have a go actually on the 13th, bringing some of that back up from the south. Plus 20 Celsius iceberg into northern parts of France then, but not quite able to achieve it because low pressure then comes in from up the Atlantic, being something a little bit cooler and more unsettled through the third week, I should say, of August 1933. No doubt that's what stopped us having 18 Celsius CET month. So we're pushing on into the final week. Are we going to get any more hot weather? Let's have a look. We've got another extension from the Azores High here on the 25th. That's building a nice ridge to our east down with low pressure out to the west. The upper air temperatures again looking hot across most parts of the country and over the continent too. That's the 27th, when again got high pressure east, low pressure to our west. Looking very warm with those upper air temperatures in the closing days of this classic hot summer month. You can see from the upper air temperatures again on the 28th, plus 15 Celsius iceberg in through the south. This day we get 32 degrees, 90 Fahrenheit. And Joe Harley writes that forest fires were common as a result of the hot and dry weather. So goodness gracious me, by this point we're tinderbox dry. From all of these ridges from the Azores High. 1933 is one of the classic hot summers. And remember, of course, while this is going on, there's also the Dust Bowl over in America. Over in many parts of America, the Midwest, the South, southern parts of America into the Midwest, into the breadbasket. There was years of drought through this early to middle 1930s Depression era. And there's a lot of La Niñas going on as well through this period, so that's interesting. Not that far removed from like the scenario that we've just been through, to be honest, in 2022 on that. So, and again, perhaps in the middle of the 1970s, there was quite a bit of La Niña, quite a strong La Niña through the middle of the 1970s during those drought years. But yeah, both sides of the Atlantic were having droughts. And in fact, although Trevor Hardy says, but, we have a lot of forest fires through this August, we don't have the Dust Bowl, but they have over in America. But both sides of the Atlantic very warm and dry. Into September, this is another very warm month. CET 14.9, very sunny 13 days. So goodness gracious me. You can see a high pressure still there to our east, still fundamentally in the summer pattern. Still looking very warm, too hot with those upper air temperatures as well being drawn up on these southerly winds. High pressure just in the ascendancy, dominating here. Well and truly in control. People must have wondered when's it going to start raining after that very dry and hot sort of July and August combination. Now into September, and people must have really been starting to think, is this summer ever going to end? But of course they always do in the end. So here we are by the 13th, we're taking that high pressure out to our west, and we're pulling in much cooler upper air temperatures from the north, and there comes autumn. So beginning to shift now into more of an autumnal pattern. Although not for long. Look at this. By the middle of the month, we're back into those summaries going, oh, wow, wow, wow. Well, that caught me out, didn't it? I should have checked that first, shouldn't I? Got the plus 15 sales ice back into the south again there in the middle of September. And now low pressure is trying to break through though, so the second half of the month is turning much more unsettled, cooler and much more autumnal. So we are into more autumnal conditions now, still with high pressure there or thereabouts, so right the way to the end of September of 1933. Right, that's a classic hot summer done. How are we doing for time? Okay, we're at half an hour, so we can do at least one more. Anyway, can't we? I'll pause the video there, and I shall see you in a mo. See you soon. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume our look at the very warm to hot summers of the early to middle 1930s. We've already done 1932 and the classic hot summer of 1933. We're now progressing on to 1934, which is going to be another one, as Brenda from Bristol said. What? Another one? You're joking. Well, yes, here we go. I'm not joking. Here we go then. So, we're starting again, May 1934. This month has a central temperature of 11.3. Trevor Harley writes, mostly warm and sunny, particularly in the south, with a notable hot spell, unsettled up to the night. So, let's have a look at that then, shall we? Starting off with low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. So, yes, an unsettled start to May 1934, properly wet and windy actually there on the 6th, goodness gracious me. But by the 8th and through to the 9th, look at this, the Azores high is coming back in again. We saw so much of the Azores high in particularly 1933. Here it is already getting itself together on the 9th, so we get a very warm spell of weather with the Azores high against the second week of month, plus 10 cells ice coming in from off the Atlantic. That's the 11th, that's the 12th. Looking high pressure dominated from the Azores. Trevor Harley writes 28 degrees was achieved. That's 83 Fahrenheit on the 12th. It became much cooler on the 13th. So, there's the upper air temperatures there for the 12th. That gets us to 28 degrees down south. That's pretty high for, for May. Now, this is much cooler, though. The high pressure pulls out and we bring out to our west, we bring down these much cooler, even cold northern winds of -5 cells ice pushing southwards there. Wow, wow, wow. And low pressure in the mix as well. So, obviously, the middle part of May 1934 is turning quite cold and unsettled. However, look at this. By the 21st, we got the ridge back from the Azores yet again into the south. Again, that sort of pulls out to our west, cooler into the second half of the month, but still a lot of high pressure domination right way to the end of the month. Okay, that gets us to the 1st of June, Thursday meteorological summer 1934. This month has a central temperature of 14.9. That's very warm for June. Dry and warm, anticyclonic until the 23rd, 32 degrees at Greenwich, 90 Fahrenheit on the 17th. On the 23rd and 24th, there was 17.3 and 17.4 hours of sunshine in Lerwick. Wow, wow, wow. That's a lot, isn't it? So it starts June 1934. Again, we're dominated by high pressure. So lots of dry weather with that. Winds in from a chilly northeasterly direction there on the 5th, and some low pressure trough actually sitting over temperatures, but high pressure becoming a little bit of a northern blocking type feature. So you see how the warmth actually gone away to the north there. But still, high pressure dominated really into the second week of the month. So a lot of dry weather with that. High pressure again reaching in from the southwest there into the middle of June of 1934. And up comes the plus 10 Celsius isotherm there as well. That looks like it's been pretty hot weather there, I would have thought. So we're moving on up towards that very hot day of the 23rd when we achieve 32 degrees at Greenwich. Let's see how that happens. We've gone cooler and more unsettled here with winds in from the north. But then we get an area of low pressure developing around Biscay, and that combines with like a ridge to central parts of Europe. So that will be pulling in some pretty high upper air temperatures, I would have thought. excessively so, actually. So it makes you wonder how 90 Fahrenheit was achieved with that read, doesn't it? But who am I to argue with Trevor Hartley? That's the 22nd. So, that looks quite cool. I haven't read my notes right, haven't I? Yeah, 32 degrees. Oh no, good gracious me, 32 degrees on the 17th. Wow. No, 23rd, 24th, gets those sunshine hours low. Okay, let's go back. I've made an error there. I didn't think that looks right. Let's go back to 17th then. There we go. So, now that looks better, doesn't it? Upper air temperature with plus 10 Celsius into the south and the southeast. That gets the temperature to 32 degrees, 90 Fahrenheit there, under that particular ridge of high pressure. Then it turns cooler and more unsettled as we go up into the last week of the month. That gets us to month's end. Again, we end June 924. Nice extension from the Azores high. And this is what we're here for. This is July of 1924. And this has the highest CT of any of the months in the early to mid 1930s. This is a classic hot July with an 18.2 CT, 18 Celsius CT month. Trevor Hartley writes, hot and sunny start. Kew Gardens recorded 131 hours of sunshine in the first 10 days. And there was a notable warm spell between the 4th and the 12th, with 9 consecutive days over 27 degrees, 80 Fahrenheit. In Nottingham, some places reach 32 Celsius, and it's even 31 degrees, 88 Fahrenheit. At Perth in Scotland, the highest temperature was 33.3 at Edinburgh knots on the 11th. So we start as we mean to go on, I think, with this month with high pressure well and truly reaching in from the south and from the southwest. The upper air temperatures look pretty warm to our south and to our southwest too, with this large area of high pressure in the ascendancy. And as you often get with these classic hot summer months, the upper air temperatures aren't always excessively hot, but just repeated day after day within the 10 to 15 Celsius isotherms, and day after day of sunshine, drying out the ground, baking out the ground, and so the feedback loop takes place, and it just gets hotter really under these areas of high pressure, but in the middle of summer, particularly in July and in August. You see how just repeatedly day after day over that large area of high pressure. I've got the plus 15 Celsius isotherm into the south and the southwest there on the 9th of July. For example. So we push on, and again you just see how the high pressure is standing its ground. It's constantly in the ascendancy. It begin to weaken a little bit there on the 12th. The upper air temperature is still looking very warm though. And we push into a middle part of the month, so trying to get a bit more unsettled from the north. There's a hurricane in the North Atlantic, by the way, there, or a tropical storm anyway, moving into the North Atlantic there. But still, really, this high pressure is in the ascendancy, so that's the 17th, still with high pressure over and to the east. And temperature, lower pressure is out to the west. The upper air temperatures, again, just consistently within the 10 Celsius to the 15 Celsius. I'm sure you remember, like, July 2013, when we saw this, repeated days of just very warm or hot conditions. So we've got a little bit more thundery now, up to the 19th, and it looks like things are wobbling with this area of low pressure. That'll be bringing in lots of thunderstorms within this hot, humid, unstable air. Look at the upper air temperatures, very easily warm enough to be producing thunderstorms and whatnot. And as we get to the 23rd of July in of 1934. On the 22nd, we get 116 millimetres of rain, being 100 minutes, I should say, at West Wickham in London from the 22nd to the 23rd by that particular thundery trough of low pressure. Still the Azores high, dominating to the last week of the month, but beginning to slip a little bit further away from us, starting to allow some low pressure to come in from off the Atlantic. And then that takes into August of 1934, which after that very hot July, well, very warm, June, and then hot July. We get a cooler August, actually. So after two really warm Augusts, have a cooler one now. This has a central temperature of 15.4, much more unsettled. Low pressure is dominating weather in this particular August to start off with. Anyway, and we keep these areas of low pressure around the country. So this is a cooler summer month that we have here. Although by 17th, the Azores high again, it is reaching back in from the southwest, plus 10 cells iceberg back into south. But generally, I think this is a much more unsettled and cooler, low pressure dominated month after that classic sort of hot 18 Celsius CT. July. End of the month, we get high pressure building over to the east of the country, or trying to, but low pressure is back in once again, looking quite autumnal here actually for the closing days of August 934. And Rickmansworth has an air frost of -1 degrees on the night of the 30th to 31st of August, although the earliest date for more central London location, the first air frost, is in late September. So in the outer suburbs of London, we get a very early air frost there. And then on into September again, we say unsettled and cool, but high pressure is taking over again to our east and south, bringing warmer air back up from the south, actually, plus 15 Celsius iceberg back in once again. September of 1924 has a CT of 14.6, generally warm and sunny, particularly in the southeast. It was a wet month in Scotland. So, quite a lot of high pressure domination continuing down in the south. Another very warm, dry September. With that, a little bit more unsettled with some lower pressure, though, always out to the north and to the northwest as well. Looking generally perhaps a little bit more autumnal as we get into the closing days of the month. Right, okay, so that's summer 1934 done. Look at this, 28th September, bring most southerlies back up again, actually, plus 15 Celsius iceberg. So that's summer 1934 done. Do you want to do another one? What time have we got? Okay, we could do it, 40 minutes in. Do you want to do another one? Should we do another one? Should we do another one? What do you think, everybody? Let's do another one. Okay, so we'll go on to 1935 next. So this one has a very cold May, actually, with a central England temperature of 9.9. There was some notable wintry weather on the 17th, which is the Silver Jubilee for King George. There was some severe frost down to -8.3 at Rickmansworth. This is May, remember May, followed by snow. Let's have a look at that then, shall we? So we start off in May 1935 with high pressure just away to the east. Low pressure is out to west. What happens after that? So where's the cold going to come from? Not much sign of it. Up to this point, the high pressure just sitting over the country, probably bringing a lot of dry and reasonable weather. However, here we go, 11th, high pressure going into retrograde, starting to push northwards. Right after a warm start to the month, a cold front moves southwards on the 16th, so we're not quite there yet. Let's push on. Chilly northeasterly winds, no doubt, but the currents of the air is still lurking away to the north. Okay, 15th to the 16th, down it comes then. Look at the upper air temperatures. Oh, wow, that is incredible. That's the 16th of May, 1935. The whole country is within the -5 Celsius iceberg. That's remarkable. -10 Celsius iceberg is getting close to Scotland. We think very bad this spring, don't we? We think very bad this spring, but nothing like that. So, right, snow fell over Scotland and the north and west of England. 15 centimetres, good information to me on high ground, 10 centimetres on the Wirral Peninsula, 12 centimetres in Harrogate and Tiverton, with 60 centimetres snow. This is in the middle of May, by the way, 60 centimetres of snow in the Yorkshire Dales. Snow even fell at St Mary's in the Scilly Isles, which is remarkable. I mean, right down next to the Gulf Stream. That's crazy, isn't it? So a very cold, wintry, no doubt that air of low pressure was the one that caused the snow down in the Scilly Isles. And again, just see how cold the upper air temperatures are around that area of low pressure. That's unbelievable, isn't it? And keeping those cold winds going for a few more day. But winds going into the east now, so Trevor Harley does say that winds then change from northerly to less cold easterly. A sunny month in the southwest of Scotland. On the whole, it was dry and sunny in parts of the east. So we've changed wind direction. We're bringing in this less cold, more typical sort of spring easterly here as we're getting to the end of May 1925. But you see, within these hot periods, there are cold interludes as well. Right, we're at the start of Big Tropical Summer, 1935, which is a thundery month. It's another very warm June with a CET of 15.1. Any June that has a CET into the 15s can be regarded as a very warm month, even in this sort of modern era. If you get into the 16s, then it is a very, very warm or hot June. So, Trevor Harley writes, a thundery month. The first 3 weeks were dull, cool and wet. So obviously there's going to be some sort of heat wave, I would have thought, at the end to get such a high CET. Let's see what goes on then. So low pressure dominates the beginning of June 1935. By the way, this is like the epilogue, I suppose. So if you think that 1932 was the prologue with that very hot weather in August, then we've got like the main event, which is 1933 and 1934, but particularly 1933. And then this would be like the prologue to the run in 1935. So it's not, continuously hot with this one. It's winding down after like the 2 hot years before. And then the teaser, I suppose, maybe 1932 was a teaser summer. But this is 11th of June 1935, looking very unsettled with low pressure in control and low pressure in the ascendancy. Trevor Hardy writes, there were 2 main areas of severe storms on the 23rd of the month, which 2 main areas of severe storms on the 23rd, but 140 millimetres of rain fell at Carnarvon, oh wow, in the middle of the night, causing severe flooding. A second storm affected Apperfeldy, I think that is, with 100 millimetres of rain plus causing flooding. Particularly focusing on Wales for some very wet weather through this month as well. Plenty of low pressure domination. Now, the Azores like trying to get back into business there on the 20th. So, obviously, we bring up so much warmer air now. This is how we achieve 15.1 CT, much hotter air pushing up from the south here on the 21st to 22nd. Look at this, high pressure, low pressure. So, we're looking really hot with those upper air temperatures. Trevor Harley doesn't write about how hot this gets, but I imagine we'll be getting the temperature probably into the low 30s here through this period. And of course, then we've got thunderstorms that I was just talking about through parts of Wales. Let's quickly go back to the upper air temperatures there. So again, very, very warm with that area of high pressure. Thundery low then, classic thundery low pushing up from the south there from the 24th to the 25th of June. Up comes that thundery low. Now that's a classic type scenario. And then we come to the end of June, and again we see high pressure well and truly in the ascendancy there. Upper air temperature looking very warm, most of the continent looking really hot as well. That takes us through to July 1935. This month has a central temperature of 17.1. It is another 17 Celsius CT July. And Trevor Hardy just says a very dry and sunny, and obviously with 17 Celsius CT warm month too. So I imagine you're going to see a lot of the Azores high. Again, there it is, bullseye reaching up from the southwest, bringing loads of dry weather with it. Upper air temperatures looking warm across most parts of the country. Once again, so, this again will be bringing day after day of dry, hot, sunny weather, classic ridge from the Azores up into northern parts. Your upper air temperatures again, they're not excessively hot, but with day after day of unbroken sunshine, back to sunshine, the ground just gets drier and it sort of feeds back on itself. We're into the 3rd week of July of 1935, a little bit more unsettled, but not for long. The Azores high once again is reaching back up from the south. Off and running we go into another very dry, hot month. And particularly for the south, this is very much Ireland, England and Wales focused with this Azores high. I think Scotland probably has a cooler and more unsettled month. Up to the end of July 1935, again, high pressure just in the ascendancy, dominating the weather, bringing loads and loads of dry and warm weather with it. That takes us through to August of 1935, which again, it's a warmer, not as warm as like some of them, but it has a central temperature 16.6. That's pretty decent for the era. Trevor Hardy writes, fine and warm until the 22nd. And then there is going to be a little bit of a change. So once again, we see plenty of ridging from the Azores High into August of 1935. Look at this, just again, continuous ridging, I should say, from the Azores High. Upper air temperature not extreme, but, you know, very warm after so much dry and warm weather, no doubt. We're seeing the temperatures at least into the upper 20s, if not below 30 Celsius regularly, especially so down in the south. A bit more unsettled there as we approach the middle part of the month, but still basically through the Azores High, through the country, bringing lots of fine weather with it. Things begin to break down with this summer as we get to the 20th and the 21st. High pressure is out to our east, low pressure is out to west. The upper air temperature is still looking very warm. It's hot even at this point, but then this low comes in, 22nd, 21st, 3rd, brings a breakdown to this dry weather. On the 23rd of August, 5.1 millimetres of rain fell in 1 minute at Croydon Airport. That's a lot for 1 minute. One of the heaviest rainfall rates recorded in the country. So obviously thunderstorms breaking down this summer. There's the remnants of a tropical storm and or Hurricane Mary, North Atlantic by the way. But obviously thunderstorms breaking down this summer. And as we go into the closing days of August 1935, it turns very cool and much more autumnal once again with this area of low pressure. Rickmansworth again had an early frost on the night of the 22nd, 28th. Remember, the ground is going to be very dry, so that's something you can achieve. Had it in 1975, 1976, I think in August, particularly 76. That's how you can achieve, you know, that's how you can achieve ground frost in August. If you've had a long, hot summer, by the end of it, as the nights get longer, the ground is hot and baked. So if your upper air hot and baked, so if your upper air temperature become cooler, then that's how you can achieve those ground frosts. Into September of 1935, which has a central temperature of 13.6. You know, it starts off unsettled. This obviously is a cooler September as well, with a CT of 1936, so the CT of 30.6, I should say, in 1935, bring quite a cooler end to the summer. Lower pressure knocking on the door, that's remnants of a hurricane and or tropical storm there on the 8th to the 9th of September, still basically under high pressure after that unsettled start. But then low pressure breakthrough from off the Atlantic. Trevor Hardy writes, wet at first, but a settled second week. There are a couple of notable events this month. Severe gales and heavy rain on the 16th, 17th. And disturbed weather for a while. And then a week low brings up warm moist air from France, giving rise to some violent thunderstorms, minor flooding, and particularly large hail across the Midlands on the 22nd. So quite an interesting September, this one, quite unsettled. Cool, much cooler as well, cooler CT, much more Atlantic dominated. So there's that warm air coming up from the south, giving those thunderstorms and that as this low pressure pushes through. But generally, this is a much more autumnal September than we've had over the past Septembers. And that brings an end then to the run. You know, that brings an end to the run. The summer of 1936 is a much cooler, much more unsettled. So I can actually show you July of 1936 just out of interest purposes, and you'll see that unlike the previous Julys, there's much less of the Azores High. That's the first day. So the previous summers, you know, 3rd day of July, excuse me, Azores High constantly ridging up from the southwest. This time, the Azores High is pushed away from us, and we start July of 1936 under an area of a low pressure. It has a central temperature of 15.3, and it's a cool, very wet month, the wettest of the century, actually wettest of the century over England and Wales. So, you know, just have a very quick run through that, I suppose. You'll just see continuous low pressure coming in from the Atlantic. The Azores High is there, you know, just like south and southwest. It's trying to get itself in, but it's not able to do so. These below pressures that are in the ascendancy and dominating not only through, you know, through this particular month, but also last 80 through the summer of 1936, just repeated areas of low pressure pushing in from off Atlantic. What a difference to those previous Julys, you know, from 1932 to 1935, just continuous lows there or thereabouts, bringing an end, as always, to the hot run. In the end, the hot runs always, they always come to an end, don't they, in Western Europe. So, you know, we're having a hot run of summers now, I suppose, but in the end, we'll, you know, quite warm or hot July, but in the end, we'll get a colder, wetter July. You can bank on that, because, you know, that's where we are. We always do. Whether it'll be this July, I'm going to wait and see. Right, I hope you enjoyed this historic web video for your bank holiday Monday. I'm always blown away that people want to spend this time with me and with GavsWeatherVids on their bank holiday Monday. So I thank you so very much, you know, from the bottom of my heart, for spending this time with me. Would you like to see how the winters panned out in between these summers? I suppose we could have a look at the early to mid 1930s winters, couldn't we? If you would like to see the winters from I suppose it would be like 1932, 1933 to 1935, 1936. But if you would like to see those winters anyway, then please let me know in the comments, and we could always do that for you, I suppose, at the end of May bank holiday. But thank you so much for tuning in. Late spring bank holiday, that isn't it? Thank you so much for tuning in on this bank holiday Monday. It's been an epic, you know, we're getting on over 50 minutes. We're getting on for an hour with this, so it's been a real epic. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed looking at some of the classic hot summer charts, and we'll have another historic weather video, as I say, for you late spring bank holiday Monday. But you enjoy the rest of your early May bank holiday Monday, and everything on the channel will be back to normal tomorrow, by the way, all of the videos and whatnot that you come to expect. That'll all be back to normal tomorrow. You enjoy the rest of your bank holiday Monday, and for this historic web video, that's all for now, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much. Bye for now.